Hello everyone and welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're going to be doing something really exciting. And I know I say this all the time, but today we are going to be starting, I don't want to say like a little series, but I want to start making videos about houses that are actually around me. I wanted to show you one of these houses that's really common in Ireland, and weirdly this common house literally has the same layout throughout so many different homes in Ireland. I don't really understand why this layout is chosen for so many houses around Ireland, but that's kind of what I wanted to show you today. So as you can see here, I am building like a semi-detached house, but normally these houses would be attached in like a long row. Obviously I couldn't do that here because I don't have a big enough lot. And I also picked this area, so this is the neighborhood that comes with the university pack, because the houses in the background, they do kind of have that sense of being like attached in like a long row, and that's actually very common in Ireland. We just have rows of houses all painted different colors. They all have been built like years ago. These houses, they have just been refurbished, I guess, to make look slightly more modern, slightly more updated, but you can still see certain homes when you're driving past a road. There'll be like houses of home there'll be rows of homes, and you can see some of them have not been refurbished since like I don't know how many years ago, and you can still see really old windows, a lot of mold in the windows because it hasn't been insulated very well, or maybe an old person lives there, you know. So you can really see this dynamic of these houses. But if you look inside of them, a half of them are really all the same because it's this one layout that they've used. Like if you look at this layout, I'm just doing it there. I'm also adding a little extension because certain houses like that would have a tiny little extension. Some of them wouldn't, some of them would. So I'm just doing that there at the moment. But when you see the inside of the layout, like when I tell you that it's so common, the house that I currently live in has that layout. My parents' house has that layout. Any other person that like lives in like a row of houses or in like an estate house literally would have this exact same layout. So I thought it was really interesting to create this video because we obviously see a lot of like English inspired cottage builds or like English estate houses, but I don't see many like common Irish homes. So that is exactly what I'm doing with this video. And I guess when I mentioned series at the beginning, I guess I just don't see enough like Irish homes represented on YouTube because they are quite interesting, and I will get into it later when we're looking at the furnishings of things. I guess the reason why I wanted to bring my view on this is because, as I said, I'm not actually from here. I wasn't born in Ireland. I was born in Poland. So I guess I have this opinion of an outsider in a way. Things that will stand out to me that I see kind of different or unusual. But also, since I've been living here for how many years? It's 2022. I've been living here for like 16 years. So I also have this other, I guess, side of things where I grew up on this as well, you know, half. So it's really interesting to have this opinion of someone that's not from here but also is so largely from here, because I've been here longer than I have lived in Poland now. So I think that was really interesting for me to create these kind of videos. So I'm starting off with this one, starting off with a very light and breezy one, because this house was actually based off of my parents' house. So you can see the kind of furnishings downstairs and things like that, but this is what I'm imagining it would look like before we have moved in, because there was like I think 2 kids living in this house. I'm working on the little bedrooms here at the moment, and you can see like even in these Irish homes, when you're repainting them, if you're like sanding the wall, you can see like layers of different colors of like paint that were there before. So I remember when we were painting my bedroom when we moved into this house, there was like High School Musical stickers underneath the paint that no one took off that we had to like sand away. It was actually really annoying, but it's just really interesting that there's these like layers of history and family memories in these Irish homes, because they don't get bulldozed. When it's a row of houses, you can't just bulldoze a house and start fresh. So these homes just have to be refurbished and like, you know, just used as best as they can, because as you know, Ireland is such a small country. There is a housing crisis at the moment. Obviously, I feel like everyone already knows and I blabber on about this so much, but it's because there is just not much room in Ireland. So these little row of tiny little compact houses with this particular layout, I feel like that's the best that they can get into a small like surface area, if you get get me? I don't know. I'm not making a lot of sense, but again, I'm going to go back to this idea of me having an outsider view. I guess when I first came here and, you know, I started making friends, I was invited to a lot of like birthday parties of friends in like primary school, and it was always such an experience to go to their house and see how they do things differently to the way that I was taught in Poland. And their houses, I don't want to sound weird about this, but they're so different to Polish houses. There's a lot more clutter, there's a lot more items being left out. There's just a lot of a less perfectionist, I guess, idea to these Irish homes. Now, with this master bedroom here, I guess, so that would be usually the biggest bedroom be given obviously to the parents. They would be quite clean because it's like that clean aesthetic, but it's still very old-fashioned furniture that they would leave in their Irish home. So I find that really interesting as well. So again, with this idea of this being a series, I do kind of wanted to show you a couple of Irish homes that I've been in that I find really interesting, but I do also wanted to show a lot of Polish homes because I don't see any Polish builds on YouTube, and I think that's really weird, and I think we need a little bit of representation here. And I know that most of Polish homes are actually like apartment blocks, but you can still create some sort of an apartment aesthetic in The Sims. So I'm definitely gonna get into doing that. I furnished the kitchen and the living room like intensely, like with clutter, layers of clutter. So don't worry, I will go into in-depth detail. We're gonna do a little tour in a minute once I finish the build, because I do actually really wanted to show you I guess all the details and all these interesting stories and why objects are placed the way they are and things. So we will get into that, but I'm still just showing you that little extension. Actually, some of the homes, they would have had this little extension at the very beginning when they were getting the house, so you can get like an option like additional optional addition. Oh my god, additional optional. Wow, I can't speak English. This is perfect. And then some of them wouldn't have that. Some of them, it would have just been a hallway for them. And then some of them would have a little bathroom. So in my parents' house, we do actually have an additional optional bathroom. Wow, I cannot speak. Right, so that is pretty much the build. So let's get into actually showing you a tour. So I'm gonna get into The Sims and let's do that. Okay guys, so this is my little representation of Irish homes. So it would be like a row. Imagine like another like 50 of them all in a row down a main street. That's kind of the idea that we're going for, but obviously I have no room here. And also another thing I wanted to point out, these houses are kind of usually painted in crazy colors, and they were in the past painted in these really, really cute colors. So like Irish homes are not afraid of color, and I know that a lot of the more modern ones are really kind of branching out into like grays and more neutral toned, but the door of the house, I just want to point out, will always be a cool crazy color. So when you first go into the house, you are greeted with quite a lot of stuff actually. So one thing to point out is a lot of those homes would have this wallpaper that would be kind of like half wood, half like a crazy colored wallpaper, and red I found to be quite a common color as well. You will find quite a lot of trinkets and things like that on the wall that are covered with a huge layer of dust normally. And another really important thing to note is that Irish homes are not no shoe homes. So what I mean by that is an Irish home, you're allowed to keep your shoes on and walk around the house with your shoes on, which is the total opposite of a Polish household. So you would find a couple of shoes laying around the front kind of area, the front room, I suppose, no, like I guess the front hallway, but you still will keep your shoes on. Which I just find to be bizarre. Okay, now the sitting room. So this is a representation of a sitting room that's quite old-fashioned, and that is kind of what I would imagine my house looked like before we moved in and before the family before us moved in. So it was owned by our landlord and I think his family. So a lot of those homes would be quite old-fashioned looking until a family moves in and refurbishes it and obviously gives it like a modern, more new aesthetic. So a lot of the furniture would have been mismatched. So the couches would have been different. There's quite a lot of things on the wall, like paintings and old photographs and things like that. You would find like taxidermy animals, a lot of books, maybe like family photos there as well, and obviously your fine china displayed on the wall as well, and a major fireplace. A fireplace also is like a major part of Irish homes, like to light the fire and just sit by the fire because it's cold out there. It's cold and windy 90% of the time. That's why I didn't change the weather for recording this, because I actually thought it was pretty fitting to have this like grey weather outside while I'm recording this. Anyways, let's move on to the kitchen. The kitchen is actually probably one of my favorite things that I have furnished in quite some time. So it's quite cluttered, but this is exactly the idea that I have of an old Irish home. So let me break it down for you. So you would have this area here by the fireplace. So there's usually kind of two little fireplaces like that. And when we first moved in, there was like these hideous chairs on both sides of the fireplace, and we started just cluttering them with stuff and things and items. But in those homes as well, you would find like just random things, like this ceramic cat, like this painting, I don't know, like cups and things, just everything would be everywhere. And I just think that's really cool, because in Polish homes, we would be the total opposite. Everything would be put away. And I think that is like the totally different aesthetic. When I first came to Ireland and I was visiting friends, I would literally walk around like their kitchen, the sitting room, and I'd just be like, it's like a little museum. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. Irish people hold on to a lot of things and they're all displayed everywhere. Whereas in like Polish households, for instance, we would hold on to a lot of things too, but we would put them away in boxes or like in cabinets and things like that. But in Irish homes, I found that things are just out for people to see and collect dust, I suppose. Now, another really major part of a kitchen, okay, the dining table. Okay, so normally in a functional home, you would have your sitting room for sitting and hanging out, and then you would have your kitchen for like cooking and dining. But in Irish homes, I found this to be quite interesting actually. I found that the dining table is actually used to entertain your guests, but not in the sense of dining. It's just so if someone comes over for a cup of tea and some biscuits, they will actually hang out at your kitchen table. And the kitchen table is also used for storage, and it's also used for, it will be used for dinners and things like that, but they would only be used for major dinners or like a family dinner or like Christmas. But 90% of the time, the table is actually pushed against the wall with the two chairs on the other side like pushed against the wall. And this is literally used to entertain your guests when they come over. Like if someone's popping over for a cup of tea, you will sit them down at the kitchen table and you would hang out at the kitchen table. You won't use the sitting room. You won't sit down in the sitting room. You best believe you don't bring your guests into the sitting room. You bring them into the kitchen. You sit at the kitchen table, okay? I don't understand the idea and I don't understand the logic. I guess it's like you keep your sitting room nice and clean and tidy for yourself, but then your guests, they all just come over and sit at your kitchen table. It's just totally so different. I've never experienced that before, so I just wanted to share that with you. Anyways, let's go on upstairs briefly, because I don't want this video to be 10 hours long. But anyways, so we've got a toilet there. I won't bother showing you that. And then let's go into the master bedroom. So as I said, the master bedroom is quite tidy, but again, the furniture I found to be quite mismatched in most areas. I mean, there's no problem with that. You would find like different things from different, areas, just cluttered around the place. Then we move on to the children's bedroom. So the children's bedrooms I found to be quite messy, okay? And I'm only giving you an idea of what I gathered when I was younger and visiting friends, when I was in primary school. So I used to always obviously go into their bedrooms, and again, it was like a little museum for me, because my mom would literally have a heart attack if she saw my bedroom this messy. So I found that really interesting that Irish kids were allowed to have everything everywhere. And I don't know, I don't mean that in a shady way. By no means do I mean that in a shady way, but my mom would literally just be like, no, clean this up. So I found that really interesting. So I wanted to kind of give you an idea of that, like a little perception. So this is like a big bedroom for a child, but I guess this would be owned by the older child, and then we would also have a smaller little bedroom that's owned by the younger child, I suppose. So again, both of them would be quite cluttered with stuff. So yeah, this is I guess a combination of many different bedrooms that I've visited. I just found that really, really cute and quite endearing actually to see that. But that is what most children's bedrooms would look like, okay? There is no shade about that, but that is just what I found. But yeah, that's kind of pretty much the house. I mean, I could get into so much more detail, which I feel like I will. I want to refurbish this kitchen to show you what I guess modern families would have done, how they would have renovated it, how they would have modernized it, because I guess that's what we have done. When we moved into a house like that, it was quite old-fashioned, and we have actually changed so much of this kitchen now that this does not look like my kitchen anymore. It would have looked, it looks a lot more modern. So I'm going to do another video of that. That's again why I mentioned that this could turn into a little series, because I just think that Irish homes have so many layers of memories and so many layers of traditions and things like that in them, so that they're very, very interesting, and I think they're worth talking about. Please let me know down in the comments if you've enjoyed something like this. This is not just a random build. This was actually a build with a little bit of thought behind it, and I am finding that really, really interesting, and I'm really enjoying making these. So please let me know, leave a little like or something to let me know if you have enjoyed something like this, and if you would like to see more. I mean, I'm still probably going to make more, so that's just the way it is, but please let me know, and don't forget forget to subscribe as well before you go. And yeah, I shall see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.